site, or excuse me, Tallahassee sandstone. You can find it around Meridian, Mississippi. You've probably seen some of that. That's going to be what the majority, this and these two materials are going to be what the majority of stone tools in Mississippi are going to be made of. This is from Tennessee. It's called Dover Church. It's relatively common up in the Tennessee Valley area. Those two right there, those two are of nicer material all the way from Texas. I've got some stuff from St. Louis, that white stuff, called Keokuk. And then these right here, these tan and red flakes, and then this material right here are all fossilized corals. This stuff, the flakes coming from South Georgia, and this other material, the larger stuff, coming from Florida. And you can see the striations of the polyps of corals running through it, and I think even a few of them have a bunch of seashells and things like that. And so I'm gonna pick up a few pieces and try to work down some of them. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll get something. One thing to note is that these, I mean, you know, obviously stone tools are created in order to perform cutting tasks and things that, of that nature. So these things are incredibly sharp. In fact, there are some world-class surgeons right now that are preferring to use obsidian stone-tipped scalpels instead of metal, because the edge is, in some cases, one molecule thick. I mean, incredibly sharp compared to metal tools. So sometimes things go flying. If I start bleeding, I'm probably going to cut my hands up pretty good today. I'm used to it, that's fine, but I am going to use safety glasses just because I like my eyes. I'd rather not lose them. So we'll give it a go and see if I can get something. See. A lot of times, things started out with picking up a rock and kind of looking at the material. All of this stuff, it's you know, you'll see it's all different shapes and colors and textures, but all of it is made of some kind of silica, which is essentially what glass is, right? And the colors come from the different elemental compositions of them. Primarily, you know, it ranges from really fine grain, high quality stuff like this from Texas, or those coral church from Florida, all the way down to the really kind of sandy, coarse grain like this Dover or the Tallahassee sandstone. And it all works, but some of it works a little bit better than others. We'll grab some, these are hammerstones. They're not gonna flake, but this Mississippi material, even though it's nice and fine grain, flakes relatively well, it's also very small and globular, which doesn't bode well for trying to produce sandstone grater. One thing about flint knapping is that the edges you're going to produce are going to be sharp, like I said, and that's not very good for when you're trying to hit something with another rock. What's going to happen if you hit something really sharp and really fine with a rock? What happens if, like, if you have something very fine, very sharp, like the edge of a knife or something, and you hit it on the rock? Yeah, it's gonna foul up that sharp edge. Same principle with stone tools. If I want to hit this with enough force to produce a flake, especially the one that I'm trying to get, I'm gonna have to dull it up pretty good. So that's what would generally be the first step in the process, would be to dull up this edge. Now, I've already taken this one chip off before this has been heat treated. Heat treating was a common practice. Not everything heat treats. The stuff from Texas, the Mississippi gravels, and this Florida corals will all take a heat treatment. And what it does is it rearranges the molecules and makes it very smooth and very predictable, so that hopefully we don't get as many mistakes. Alright, so this right here looks like a good edge to hit on. Hopefully I can get flake that runs out this way. I do see that there's a seam, interior seam here, so it's probably could very well just shatter in your hands. But we'll give it a go. I want to brace this hand on the inside of my leg. That way I get some stability. It doesn't rotate or move as I'm trying to hit it. And another thing it does is it kind of fools this rock into thinking there's much more mass there than there actually is. So instead of trying to send the shock wave through the middle of the stone, it'll force it out, and that'll be what produces the flake. Okay, well, there we go. See, we got our flake, and it does look like good material, although that seam does run straight through there. So we will let's see. We'll take a look and see what we can do. Now, one thing Flint Knappers always have to be mindful of is the shape of not only the angles of their platforms that they're trying to strike, but the shape as well. You want to, if you're kind of creating a like an arrowhead or something like that, you want to kind of keep in mind what the center line is. So if you think of this being one face and this being another face, you would hopefully at the end have a sharp edge all the way around this edge, and you want to kind of keep that in mind, because what you're going to essentially do is you're going to be removing stuff from the bottom, and then you're going to flip it over and remove stuff from the top. And what you're wanting to do is, whereas this is relatively thick, you're going to move this edge this way, and move this edge this way until they meet, and that is where you actually start to get a stone tool. I'm going to try and let's see. Try and get the proper edge that I want so that I will remove the flake that I want. Well, that time it didn't work. So we'll have to straighten this up. Okay, like I said, essentially what I'm trying to do is remove material from this face until this edge moves down, and remove material at one point from this face so that they meet. One thing about Mississippi gravels is that they, because they're so round and small, they are often prone to producing problem areas. And when you're flint knapping, if you run into a problem or you create a problem, if you try to keep working into that problem, it's just going to magnify itself. So oftentimes you'll find cobbles that have started to be worked down in the field, and a problem arose and they just chunked it out and went and got another one out of the creek or something like that. On stuff that's bigger, you have a little bit more leeway in terms of resolving problems. You can come at it from different angles and different sides, but with stuff this small, it often magnifies itself. So I've got, some flakes removed from this side. I would like to get something started on this side so that I've got at least two areas working. This could very well shatter in my hands, but we'll give it a try.
So next time y'all find arrowhead in your yard or something, you can appreciate how much work actually went into it. Because common misconception with younger kids is that you just pick up a arrow-shaped rock and that's what they use, and that wasn't the case.
I got a glass arrowhead at home.
So you can
My
appreciate.
papa said he made it out of the glass from a TV.
Yeah, you can work. There are people that work down glass. Actually, there was a Native American in California. He's a member of a California tribe called Ishi, and he was one of the last uncontacted Native Americans that we know of. And it got down to where, I guess when settlers moved into California, their tribe retreated into a valley in the hills and just hid out there for maybe 100 years or so. And slowly, disease that was introduced when Europeans made it to the New World made its way into that valley, and his tribe just slowly started dying off for one reason or another. And it got down to just him and one older woman that he was continuously taking care of. And when it was just down to him, he was having to provide for all of them, and it became harder and harder to find workable stone in that valley. So what he would do is he would have used them made out of hardwood, and it's essentially a pressure flaker that's really long and sturdier. And instead of working a piece of stone down like this, what I'm doing with this rock is percussion flaking. Once you get down to an almost finished stone tool, you have to move to something smaller because you want to take off smaller flakes and you're just trying to refine the edge and not actually shape it. He would use an ishi stick, and he would anchor it under his arm and use the leverage in his thighs to snap off flakes so that you can get very precise, very powerful flakes driven off. And he would use that to nap slabs of glass. I've got a few with me in that bag, and we're going to try and get to them later this afternoon. But he had a method of working it down, and it became known as an ishi stick, so nobody had ever seen it before. So there are instances of people, Native Americans, Native tribes, using glass, and some actually the Creek Indians in West Georgia, as they were interacting with colonists in the early United States. Y'all talked about the deerskin trade at all? Okay. Well, when the colonies were kind of reaching their maximum output, they were in continuous need of leather goods, and deerskin was incredibly highly valued. Well, this caused the Creek Indians to overhunt and just like overexploit the deer population, creating what we know today as the deerskin trade. And to prepare these hides, they had to scrape them down, they had to clean them, and they didn't have enough stone tools to do that. So what did they do? They would trade for glass wine bottles, and they would work the glass wine bottles down into scrapers, and they would work the hides with that. So glass is incredibly well suited to flint knapping. Unfortunately, it's very easily broken as well.
Or you want to eat?
Yeah, man. Yeah, if you didn't want to eat, wild onions for the rest of your life.
Shrek did mine, so.
Thought that was going to work. It went further than it's letting on. Good. You still have the seam running straight through the piece. Hope it'll make it.
Is it found on the ground, or do you have to dig for it?
It's normally found, well, that part of Tennessee is real mountainy and hilly, so it's usually found kind of in the hillsides and mountainsides, things like that. That was actually broken off of a larger kind of boulder that had rolled down and gotten weathered in a creek or a river, I think. So you can see we've still got these two faces, this one and then this one, but we're also working that edge down. We've got the beginning of what we call a workable edge right here, and the idea is to get a workable edge all the way around here. So we've got one here, we've got one here. Now it's time to work on the sides. Hopefully we can get rid of this cortex here.
That's why I'm looking at her like that. That's what I meant. We're pale, like I'm not.
Excuse me. Do y'all watch golf much?
No, napkin.
No. Well, if you see me miss, which you're probably going to, swing and miss, kind of art of it is not only being able to predict what kind of tool you want and work down, it's knowing how much pressure to apply, how much force to apply, how big of an area to hit in order to get those flakes. So a lot of times I'll do what I call the golf swing, where I'm taking some practice swings, and every time I swing, I'm getting incrementally closer to that edge, where if I just want to kiss the edge and get a smaller flake, that's what I'm going for. Other times, I can just bang on it, and I'm just looking for something to hit on. So we've got almost our workable edge all the way around here. We're going to have to work on this side a little bit. This is going to be difficult because this is like close to a 90-degree edge, and 90-degree edges are not very good for working. Of course, we've got the seam running right down the middle. Oh, yep, see? That seam split it in half. Well, that's it. That's it for that one. We'll give this one a shot.
So like I said, I mean, you can appreciate how much time and effort went into these stuff.